Your ego is shot right now. Shot. You had this big old ego with him. I make more money than him. He's just a mechanical engineer. Technically, he's not even a mechanical engineer because he doesn't have a license. It's so embarrassing.
Ex-husband ruined my life. I slept with my colleague one time, and I lost everything. My job, I loved that firm, my family. My husband divorced me, and he got my children, and I'm stuck paying child support. How is this fair? Oh, and temporary spousal support. PSA, women do not date down. Learn from my story. Why is marriage counseling not a requirement? If it is okay, I would love to share my story with you and your listeners on your YouTube channel. Since this is the True Story channel, I'm not going to hold back. So, everyone, yes, I am a cheater. I cheated one time in my life, and it caused this. I cheated on my husband. I cheated on my family. I ruined my entire life. It was all over my stupid ego. I could tell you guys up front, when I slept with my coworker one time, I felt horrible and I felt disgusted. I had the hots for my new colleague, but I felt dirty afterwards. I did everything in my power to keep it from my husband because, well, he was already beaten down. He was jobless at the time, and before he'd go out to the world every day and try his best, but he just kept failing and failing, to be honest with you. I started to look down on him. I started to complain and call him a liar. He promised me all these great things in our life, claimed he was going to take care of me, but that never happened. I basically ended up taking care of him and our kids, and still do even though we're divorced. I met my ex-husband back in 2012. When I met him, he was in school, community college actually. He was getting his life on track. My husband was a great guy, Jimmy. He truly is a great man. Now, when I say getting his life on track, he didn't have a bad path. He didn't do drugs. He didn't drink alcohol. He just wasn't ambitious after high school. He worked on jobs that really didn't help him out. By the time he was 25, he realized he was working with teenagers. He said he wanted to get his life together, so that's what I mean when I say he was getting his life together. He was at community college, and he majored in mechanical engineering, which sounds amazing. I thought, okay, well, he's going to be in a nice, prestigious career. He's going to be an engineer, but I guess I didn't really realize the details of that. So to be an engineer, you honestly have to be a PE. You can't really call yourself an engineer. You're just a drafter or a worker in the firm. I learned that later on, but Jimmy would tell people he was a mechanical engineer. But it was so embarrassing because once people would start questioning him about being a licensed engineer and having his PE, he couldn't answer any of it because he never got that far. It took him 4 years to get a degree. Now I know why it took him 4 years, and it had nothing to do with him being stupid or anything. He graduated top of his class. He's very intelligent. He didn't go to school full time. He went part time. To even graduate in 4 years, he had to go during the summertime, but how do you explain this to people? You initially tell someone, yeah, I went to a 2 year school and it took me 4 years. They're immediately going to think you're stupid. Oh, you're just dumb. That's not the case. Jimmy is very, very intelligent, so there were a lot of embarrassing moments, especially at my job during the Christmas parties and things like that. Everyone's asking about his career. That's usually what people are asking when you meet someone. Hey, what's your name, yada yada? What do you do for a living? Jimmy always seems to stumble because he wasn't confident because of my position. I am a doctor, a psychologist to be specific, just like my mom and dad. All of my colleagues will tell Jimmy how smart he was, but this was so embarrassing. Jimmy straight up told one of my colleagues how his position isn't as impressive as ours, saying, you guys are doctors. I'm just a mechanical engineer. And this is after he explained how he wasn't licensed, but he worked as a drafter, so basically, he should have just been telling people that he's a drafter for a mechanical engineer company. But anyway, My colleague was telling him not to look down on his career. He's doing great things, she explained. She had a nephew that was going to school for that. He works a co-op engineering firm, and it's a lot of work, and she knows the work that he put in. So he shouldn't feel bad. That just made Jimmy feel even worse because she's comparing his career to her nephew's co-op. So I had to hear a lot of complaining from Jimmy. So I'm sure you guys can see where I'm going here. Jimmy pushed me to cheat on him. Even though my ex-husband made significantly less money than I did, he should have remained a man. That's what a woman wants at the end of the day. A man. We're not always looking for a big bank account. Sure, it's great. If my husband was a judge or a lawyer or freaking president. I don't know, just something very prestigious. Guess that's amazing. I get to brag about him, but at the end of the day, I want a man crying and complaining to me. And when I say crying, I'm not lying. I mean, literally, there's been times Jimmy would cry to me and telling me how his boss is being mean and treating him like he's a nobody. How do you guys think that would make a woman feel? In the comments, please answer that. You think she would look at you the same? Had too much pride to ask me to help pay for school. I suggested it. One time I figured he should go back to school and get a higher degree, but he'd always fight me and say no. He'll save up the money and do it himself, and he doesn't want to go into debt taking out loans. Also, stubborn as well, Jimmy was. I put up with Jimmy's bull crap for a very long time, and I even had his children. He had the nerve to get DNA tests on the children before our divorce proceedings even started. I'm not that low and dirty. I'll never pin kids on someone. Why would I pin kids on Jimmy when he makes far less money than me? To be transparent, I make well over $140K a year. Jimmy's never made over $42K a year. Our entire relationship. What would I need from him? I honestly wish I didn't have such an ego, though. That's what got me in trouble. I started talking down on Jimmy, but before I get to that, I need to discuss something. After our first child was born, Jimmy put his hands on me. He physically grabbed me, shoved me into the bed, and had his hands around my neck. This is what happened. And by the way, this shows the insecurities of Jimmy. I should have left a long time ago, but I lied about being with my mother and my sister. I told Jimmy that I was going to spend the weekend there. I needed a break. I was tired. I just had a baby and I just felt trapped. And I kind of was going through postpartum. I diagnosed myself, told Jimmy to take off work using vacation days. It wasn't intended for him to do that, though. He actually wanted to go camping with his buddies, and he was going to use his days then. I talked him into using them to watch the baby, so I spent the weekend with my mother and my sister, supposedly. That's not what actually happened. I told Jimmy that, but I had every intention to meet up with an old friend. I just needed something different, and I kind of miss my friend and I miss being free. Anyway, I spent the weekend with this friend. We were 100% did not have sex together. We did stay in a hotel together. I admitted that to Jimmy, but we didn't touch each other. We had separate beds. My old friend was supposed to leave, but decided to stay a couple more days because we were just having an amazing time. We both felt free, so my friend had just divorced. He came up to visit, but we booked 2 more days at the hotel. We had fun. We played Uno. We talked about the past. We watched YouTube videos. We watched Netflix and Hulu. It was amazing. I just felt free. I didn't have any obligations, and I loved it. I didn't think Jimmy would do this, but he took our new baby with him and traveled to my mother's house and then traveled to my sister's house and discovered that I was lying. My sister didn't defend me. I knew I was in trouble when Jimmy started blowing my phone up. I answered once. He was screaming at me, accusing me of cheating and wondering where I was, and I kept lying to him. And he told me he knows good and well I'm not with any of my family members, and I better have a good excuse for being gone. If it's another man, then he'd comfortably spend time in prison for the rest of his life. I was so scared to go back home. I was afraid of Jimmy hurting our child. I got home. Jimmy's mother was there. She took our baby boy with her to her house to let us talk. I begged Jimmy's mom not to leave because I was afraid. Jimmy looked at me and said, "I'm not going to hurt you. What are you talking about? You're my wife and I love you. I love our son. I wouldn't do that." I believed him when he told me that. He only said that to get his mother out of the house. When his mother pulled out of the driveway, Jimmy started demanding answers, and he even snatched my phone from me. Told me, "Before he goes in, this phone, tell me the truth, or I'm going through this phone, and if there's the passcode that's been changed on here, I'm going to already assume everything I'm thinking is true, and it's not going to end well for you." I was so afraid Jimmy was going to off me. Jimmy told me if I told him the full truth, he could forgive me if I'm regretful. If he senses a lie, he doesn't know how he's going to react, but he has a feeling he's not going to be good. I was scared. I wanted to lie, but wanted to live. So I told him the truth. I told him exactly what happened. I told him I had plans to meet up with an old friend that I went to college with. He had recently got a divorce and he needed to get out. Wrongfully, I decided that I was the person he should spend time with. I convinced him to come up to see us, spend time with us. Jimmy was confused and was asking me, "What do you mean us? Who is us?" And I told him, he and I. I wanted my friend to come spend time at the house with us, but at the last minute I thought it would be inappropriate because, well, he's a male friend that I've never told Jimmy about, and I just had a baby. We were very busy with our child. I told Jimmy that I convinced my friend that we should just get a hotel and hang out. Jimmy turned red. I had to calm him down. I said, "Hear me out. I never slept with anyone, and true story epic, I mean this with everything in me. I know you're not going to believe me. I know you're going to tell your YouTube buddies, don't believe this woman. She's lying. I swear to you all. I never slept with this man, my ex-friend. I never slept with him in college. That is the God honest truth. If you guys don't believe me, that's fine. But I promise you, that's what happened. Yes, it's weird that we slept in hotel rooms together, but we were friends, and we had separate beds. We never kissed. We didn't look at each other in that Watt. Nothing inappropriate. It took me about 50 minutes. I kid you not, 50 minutes. I remember seeing the clock. He was convinced that I had sex with someone else, and that was not the truth. I even offered to call my ex-friend and told him I would just stay silent, and I won't say anything, and he can ask any questions he wants. He took me up on that offer. He went into my phone, and I did not change my passcode. It was the same passcode. He asked me the name of the friend. He started looking through the messages first, reading everything, and I told him to please comfortably read through everything. You could never say that I had anything sexual relations with him. I wanted him to call him and ask. We never slept together. Actually, just ask him how the weekend went. He's going to say what I said, and if he doesn't, he is lying, but he has no reason to do that. Jimmy sat for about 20 minutes going through the messages, and then he said, "Okay, I'm going to call him, and your story better add up." Jimmy called. My ex-friend answers in the worst way possible. My ex-friend says, "Oh my gosh, babe, you okay?" Jimmy turns red again, right when he was starting to believe me. My idiot friend would call me babe. Yes, sometimes he would call me that, but that was back in college, and I swear we never slept together then, or even at this time. I was so pissed off, but I told him I wouldn't say a word. I held my lips tight. I was so scared, but I knew if I said anything, it'll break his trust. He made me swear that he wouldn't say a word. Jimmy responded and said, "Who the F are you calling babe?" My ex-friend, who still won't talk to me to this day, by the way, starts stuttering and says, "Hey, who is this?" Jimmy introduced himself as my husband, just said, "Who are you? What do you know about my wife?" My friend starts talking about how we met each other in college. We have been friends for a long time, but when I got married, our friendship ended. Jimmy says, "What did you do over the weekend with my wife?" We hung out. We went to the mall. We ate lunch like we did in college. That's about it. Jimmy says, "Hung out. Where did you guys sleep?" My friend starts to stutter, says, "Hey man, I never slept with her, dude. She's just a good friend and she was there for me during my divorce." Jimmy says, "Well, it's weird that I've never met you before or heard of you, and this is my wife. We have a child together. I ask you again, and I need you to be honest. Where did you sleep? Did you sleep at your house?" My friend says, "No, man. I don't even live here. I stay in Austin, Texas. I came to visit, but honestly, we got a hotel. We slept in separate beds, and there was no sex, no kissing. Nothing, man. I promise you that. I would not lie to you. I'm not that type of guy, man." Jimmy asked, "Did you have a crush on my wife? In college or even now? You can be honest." "Yes, I did in college. I wanted her, but we were just friends." Jimmy just abruptly hung up the phone. He approaches me, and I was so afraid. He looks down at me and says, "I know you're lying. I know you slept with him. You guys practiced this before." He knew exactly what to say. "Why are you lying to me?" This is when Jimmy stood me up. I was sitting on the couch. He picked me up. I pretty much blacked out because I didn't remember. Then we were in the bedroom. He was on top of me, on the bed, hands around my neck. He wasn't squeezing really hard. It's almost just like he was threatening me, screaming, "Tell the truth. You slept with him." I was crying. I never slept with anyone. I swear to you. I wouldn't do that to you, but I did lie to you. I will admit that I lied to you, and I'm sorry. He cried. After about 10 minutes, I walked over to him, and I hugged him, and we sat there on the floor. We cried together, and I apologized to him, and I told him I was sorry. He told me he forgives me, but never ever lied to him again. He did get past that. We got so far past that. We had another child. I have 2 children. Jimmy has full custody of both of them, and his mother now lives in the house that I pretty much paid for. It's taking Jimmy and his mom to both cover the mortgage on the house, and some of that money still comes from me because I'm stuck paying Jimmy's spousal support temporarily, child support, which will be temporarily because I will get full custody of my children again, because this was not fair. I had to move out of the house. Now, in the beginning, I said I lost my job. I did. I ruined my career with the company I loved. I found employment immediately after. I didn't lose my license, but I did lose my job. I was knocked down just a little bit, but I'm still over 6 figures. It's just sad that I have to pay a grown man a monthly allowance and then give him money to take care of our children. I should have never married Jimmy, let alone have children with him. He's not man enough to take care of a family. He needs his mommy right now to help raise our kids. He's not capable of it. He shouldn't even have the children. They should be with me, their mother. So, like I said, Jimmy and I got past that part of me hanging out with a friend. We had another child, and Jimmy started to grow suspicious, and he had every right to because I was feeling a way about my co-worker. My new colleague was gorgeous, tall, muscular, bald head, which I love. He was just gorgeous. Everybody thought he was, even the men. And he flirted with me from day one. He made me feel good. I had 2 children, and I gained a little weight. Why wouldn't I want compliments from someone? Long story short, I was talking about my colleague at home often. Let's call him Dwayne. Dwayne was just phenomenal, and he was single. Of course, I fantasized about him. By this time, I didn't desire my husband Jimmy and had deep regret marrying him. He flipped on me when I suggested a post-nup agreement. He lost and said I was trying to set him up. I ended up hiding money and investments from Jimmy for times like this, him divorcing me. Jimmy went through my phone one night, and it woke me up out of my sleep, screaming and scaring the boys, telling me that I was a liar and a cheat. And this time, I can't lie about it because of the sexual messages between Dwayne and I. Dwayne mentioned how he wanted to screw me in the office again. Jimmy had everything. I asked him for marriage counseling, and he served me divorce papers at my job. Got me and Dwayne fired. Jimmy got some big shot lawyers that actually helped him get custody of the children. So during the year, Dwayne came to work in my office. Jimmy was a stay-at-home dad. His job fired all of the low-hanging fruit. When I suggested he raise the kids, he was so happy to do so. I then realized Jimmy's issue. He's lazy, that's all. He's smart, but lazy as well. Jimmy got full custody, kept the house. I paid child support and spousal support for 1 year. I found a lawyer that's going to overturn all of this. She agrees that this isn't fair and unjust. My lawyer told me that the judge is a known sexist and is jealous of my career and credentials. I believe that wholeheartedly. True story, hopefully you find my email suitable for your listeners. You all don't be too quick to judge me. Jimmy didn't deserve me, and you all know it.
Your ego is shot right now. Shot. You had this big old ego with him. I make more money than him. He's just a mechanical engineer. Technically, he's not even a mechanical engineer because he doesn't have a license. It's so embarrassing. All that complaining, you helped put him down. Yeah, he felt bad because of work and things like that, but you contributed to that, putting him down, making him feel bad. And I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That ex-friend of yours, you know, the one you spent 4 days in a hotel with, pretty sure you slept with it. Pretty sure you both are lying. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. You're in a hotel with another man who just got divorced. Come on now. You're not dumb. We're not dumb. Look, you got served at work. You got fired. And you got to pay alimony and child support. I love it. I love it. And I do appreciate you sending in this story. I will say that. I appreciate it. And everybody that sends a story, I reply back to you guys. If I can, not everybody. I don't reply to everybody, but most of the time I reply back to you. And I told you how I felt, and you told me 100% you're okay with my opinion. You just want to share your story. I appreciate it. I'm going to be honest with you. You got what you deserved. You truly did. Guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments, guys. If you want to send in a story, send it to truestorynation@gmail.com. Here, I'll put it on the screen. That's truestorynation@gmail.com. We'll catch you guys at the next one.